Hey, yo, Pro Wrestling Podcast listeners, help us out and click subscribe to show your support while you're at it. If you are a YouTube user, make sure that you enable notifications so they let you know every time a new episode goes up of the Pro Wrestling Podcast. While you're at it, if you're sick and tired of dropping $60 to $100 for the latest and greatest wrestling video game, stop immediately. Go to Wrestler Unstoppable. It's available exclusively through Facebook. You can create a wrestler, sign contracts, get involved in storylines, headline pay-per-views. You can even build your own corporation, all included in Wrestler Unstoppable, available now to all Facebook users totally free. If you want to become a member of the Pro Wrestling Podcast family, you want your name in the shoutouts like Mike and Lansdale, then check out our Patreon page at patreon.com/Fro Wrestling Podcast. Sign up today, and don't forget we have loyalty rewards. If you become a $15 a month contributor, you can co-host an episode of one of our live shows, and if you are a $7.50 per month contributor, you can get entered into a drawing to also co-host an episode of one of our live shows. Hello everybody, welcome to this episode of the Fro Wrestling Podcast. Don't forget, if you have questions, comments, anything you want us to discuss, all you got to do is call in to the Fro Wrestling Sound Off line, 267-642-1160. You can give us questions, comments, anything you want us to do in the next episode, and we will get to as many of them as we can throughout a future show. Don't forget, if you are brand new to the Fro Wrestling Podcast, go to our homepage at frowrestling.com, and that's where you can preview all the topics coming to the Fro Wrestling Podcast. It's a great way to come up with things to talk about. And then if you send us a question, do me a small favor. Please let me know who you are so I can give you credit for your questions in the response. So, looking ahead at some of the things going on in the wrestling world this week. One, Flip Gordon, big news. He has been cleared for an in-ring return. Ring of Honor has been losing a lot of talents, especially with the exit of all the Bullet Club / Elite members. They go to AEW and all these other talents that have considered other options or left the company, SoCal Uncensored, etc. Well, now Flip Gordon is in a position where he has built an extremely loyal fan base, and then you get to January and he gets a severe injury to his knee. He has since been cleared. He's ready for in-ring action, and this could not have come at a better time. They've got their huge show at Madison Square Garden coming up, and he should be a focal point of the brand going forward. That's the kind of popularity Flip Gordon is bringing to their brand right now. In addition, one of the things I saw this week that I thought was just crazy, All Elite Wrestling and Cody are filing registered trademark applications for certain things that you would think they wouldn't even try to test WWE for intellectual property rights. Those things being stuff like Bunkhouse Stampede, Bash at the Beach, things like that. Things that were used for old WCW shows. The Bunkhouse Stampede, for those who don't know, was a very innovative concept. It was almost like a tournament of battle royals where people came dressed in street clothes and like these cowboy outfits and beat the snot out of each other, and then they would all culminate with all the winners of these battle royals facing off in one final battle royal in a cage to see who would be the Bunkhouse Stampede winner. And Dusty Rhodes won the thing 3 times, I believe the only 3 times they ran it. So it'll be interesting to see if that's what they plan to do with that. They also grabbed, or at least applied for, copywriting Battle Bowl, which, if for those who don't remember, in 1991, WCW brought out this concept called Battle Bowl. They called it the Lethal Lottery. Originally, it was 40 wrestlers. They were randomly drawn into 20 tag teams that competed in 10 tag team matches. And then the winning tag teams, those 20 wrestlers, would go into a 2-ring battle royal. The winner from Ring 1 would then face the winner from Ring 2, and then then the overall winner in an over-the-top rope one-on-one challenge would become the winner of Battle Bowl. And so that's another concept WWE has never embraced. I guess maybe because they have the Royal Rumble, they don't want to have something that's too similar. But at the same time, it would give All Elite Wrestling, if they clear the intellectual property rights for this, some really established, at least for diehard wrestling fans, a concept that has already got some teeth. It's got some history, and they can refer back to that history. I expect that WWE may try to block those copyright trademarks, but we'll have to see. In other news this week, the Four Horsemen, one of easily the most legendary group in the history of the business. You're going to be getting an opportunity, if you go to WrestleCon this year, to get meet and greet opportunities with all four members of the Four Horsemen. But that's kind of a misleading statement, because they're going to have the 1987 version of the Horsemen, which would be Ric Flair, Tully Blanchard, Arn Anderson, and Lex Luger. Or you could get the 1988 version, which is where they switched out. Lex Luger left the group and Barry Windham joined the group. And a lot of people feel that the Barry Windham group was actually the best group, the best pairing of the Four Horsemen of all time. And you can get yourself a photo opportunity with whichever version you would like to have your photo taken with, which I find it crazy if you think about it. Can you imagine? And I'm assuming, and I could be completely wrong. I'm sure they would hope that the photo opportunity purchases would go down 50-50 and, everybody's happy. But if you're Lex Luger and more people want a picture with the Barry Windham version, how does that make you feel? Or vice versa. People have always been very critical of Lex Luger early in his career. What if Lex Luger is exactly what people want to take a picture with? It may tell you that the fans had a different perspective than perhaps some of the wrestlers did. So I'm curious to see how that plays out. That'll be pretty cool. There's been some confusion surrounding the WWE Women's Tag Team Championship scene. And I'll be honest with you, heading into WrestleMania, I kind of get the feeling that they're pushing for this multi-team match. We know that Natalya and Beth Phoenix are probably going to be involved with the Tamina and Nia Jax feud, along with Sasha and Bayley, of course. And now you get the Iconics picking up a win last night on Smackdown, which would make you think they'd be in line for a tag team championship opportunity. And that creates a 4-team scenario. Now, they hyped up how these tag team championships are going to be defended across all brands. And Sasha and Bayley did show up at an NXT taping, and they addressed the crowd, but they didn't wrestle, but they addressed the crowd. And you would hope that at WrestleMania, the biggest show of the year, that perhaps the NXT roster would get a representative to challenge as well for the Women's Tag Team Championship. It seems like if you have 3 brands, each brand should have a number 1 contender who would then challenge in a fatal 4-way at WrestleMania for those belts. And of course, Kairi Sane and Io Shirai would be the ones I would think they would put into that scenario, but it looks like they're going away from that idea, and instead, by inserting Beth Phoenix and Natalya, you have 2 Raw tag teams in there. And the reality is it's creating almost a bad situation. The Iconics have spent the last 6 months trying to get any television time and really trying not to become a joke in the WWE fans' eyes. And now you put them in this situation where they defeat the tag team that you've built up. Sasha and Bayley have been built up for the better part of a year as being the tag team in women's wrestling. Now you're going to have them go out there and lose on SmackDown to a tag team that's essentially been a joke. I mean, let's be honest. The Iconics have lost to makeshift tag teams like Carmella and Naomi. They have almost no continuity. They've gotten very little television time, and they are not a focal point of the women's division right now, but you're going to put them in a position to be in a very powerful spot heading into WrestleMania. I think it's rather strange at the way things are going. Something I want to address, I always tell you guys, give me your comments, questions, concerns, and give me your name when you give them. Well, this one goes back to my buddy John. He's down in Alpine, Texas. In my last episode, he shot me a question about Brock Lesnar and the impending move to Fox for Smackdown. Now, the word is that WWE is getting some pressure from Fox to sign Brock Lesnar to a much longer-term contract with regular appearances on Smackdown. Which, of course, if Brock loses the Universal Championship to Seth Rollins at WrestleMania, it would be very easy. You can move him over to the brand, do it in the brand extension or draft or whatever you want to call it this year, superstar shakeup, and get him to SmackDown so that he brings that legitimacy that Fox is looking for that SmackDown brand. Now, we all know Brock does not like to show up for a lot of appearances, but let's also be honest. Money talks. And Brock Lesnar has proven in the last several years that he goes where the money goes. With the amount of money that Fox is getting ready to pay WWE for that, they should really find a way to pay Brock whatever they have to make sure that if nothing else, he's at least on the show twice a month. That would be acceptable. The fascinating thing I find in the scenario is he was Universal Champion for the better part of the last 2, almost 3 years, and has been on so sparingly. Now Fox comes along paying all this money, and there's conversation going around that maybe, just maybe, they find a way to get Brock into a more regular role because of the desires of Fox. Now, I know Dana White was in the news this week saying that Brock, when he's ready to fight, he's called, he's interested. He still wants to fight UFC. Daniel Cormier still wants to fight Brock. They really want to make that fight happen. But it seems like every time we get close to that happening, WWE comes along and backs up the Brinks truck, and that fight doesn't happen, and Brock's wrestling career gets extended. I'm fine with it either way, but I hope they figure something out to make him a focal part of that transition so that we get to see him more. Let's face it, if Brock Lesnar was on TV every week or every other week, I don't think the fans would have nearly the issue they have with him because he'd be contributing. And that's all people have ever wanted them to do is contribute. So we're going to have to keep our eyes on that, see how things pan out there. And one last tidbit for today. Happy 60th birthday to my personal all-time favorite wrestler, the man they call Sting. The guy has done it all in the wrestling world, and for me, I don't care how old the guy is, I still have a tough time accepting that he's old. Okay? At 60, let's face it, he's gotten up there. But legendary career, to me, he still at times has that. I go back and I remember the bleach blonde hair and the face paint when he first won the championship from Ric Flair at the Great American Bash. And I still reflect fondly on those memories. I remember him coming in and defeating Hulk Hogan at Starrcade when he was the Crow Sting. And all those experiences, and it just doesn't seem like it's been that long. But unfortunately, it has. The guy is 60 years old, right after Ric Flair just turned 70 years old. And people, even to this day, keep asking Sting if he's got anything left in the tank, if he can come back. And at this point, at 60, I can't believe I'm going to say this. I don't want him to come back. Because my memories of Sting are wonderful. And I want to remember Sting that way, not some aging veteran who's hanging on too long. Would I have loved to have seen him get a championship run when he was feuding with Seth Rollins? Yes, but he got hurt in their very first match. I can't fault Sting for that. Would I have loved to see him wrestle The Undertaker just one time at WrestleMania? Of course I would. But unfortunately, it never came to fruition. So, happy birthday to Sting. Congrats to Sting, as always, on an amazing career. But at 60 years old, I think, as a fan, a diehard fan of Sting's, I think it's time to say, enough's enough. And I'm not going to, I've sent the guy messages myself, begging him to come back for another match. I think I'm done. It's time to let him just enjoy the spoils of his labor for this life of body of work he's done in the world of professional wrestling, and just ride off into the sunset. He's a great ambassador for wrestling in general. He'll be at WrestleCon. He's still very active as an ambassador for WWE. So he's doing all these positive things. Let's just not see him in the ring. That's all the time we have for this episode. Check back with us next episode. We'll run down all the latest wrestling news and rumors. Special thanks, as always, goes out to bensound.com and purpleplanet.com. They produce any music and sound effects we use in our shows. Today's podcast was sponsored in part by Beazle Games. Bringing a new friend to family game night is easy with sketchy people. Showcase your artistic side in this new game from Beazle Games by going to frowrestling.com and clicking the icon in the middle of the screen to pick up your copy today. And alleyrepair.com. Contact Alley Repair today for servicing of all your classic skee-ball, pinball, and arcade game needs. If you're looking for your next career move, you're considering college, university life, you just need some formal training for your next career decision, go to frolifeplanning.com for all your higher education needs, as Fro Life Educational Planning is for today, for tomorrow, and for life with Fro Life. I'm Fred Froelich, better known as Mr. Fro. I want to thank you so much for taking a few moments with us today. If you're looking for more wrestling news and rumors, go to www.tsj101sports.com for their latest articles on the world of professional wrestling, or check out my blog, In Fro's Corner, located on frowrestling.com, and check out my pieces. If you are looking for independent wrestling, always support indie wrestling. Check out our indie events tab and see if there's a show coming to an area near you. got to get out there. That one-to-one personal experience you can't get at a WWE show. You can't get at a Ring of Honor show, and you can't get at an Impact Wrestling show. You can only get that at these smaller indie shows where you can literally interact with the talents and see how amazing some of these lesser-known talents really are. Until next time, take care, everybody. Have a great night.